really thinking about how do we be self-reflective?
Think about that is much better. Thank you. Think about, to be a leader, you need to be able to listen and understand others. When we enter into a conversation, we go in with a purpose. Sometimes that's to gain information, sometimes that's to give information, solve a problem. And what we're training our leaders is really those skills that are needed to be a good listener, particularly as we work with students, parents, and the community. So that was our first day. The second day, we had a fabulous barbecue with our families. So we invited all of our leaders to bring any of their families they'd like to, and we were supposed to be up in the mountains for that, but those plans got changed. But we had a wonderful time having families come together, meeting significant others and children and grandchildren, and just had a great time together as a leadership team. So those are always a great way to kick off the year. We'll continue this theme of listen to learn and listen to lead with all of our staff within San Juan School District, so we're excited about rolling that out. And a big part of that will also be the superintendency traveling together to do listening tours throughout the district. So we're excited about that, and we invite the board to join us as we attend chapter meetings and community meetings and school community councils to also be listeners and bringing that information back to us. I also would like
would just like to say I think that's a great idea. I'd like to be as transparent as we can be. School board meeting is a great place to do that, to talk about what we're doing. Is that me? Okay. So, are we good? What we're doing as a district, the direction that we're moving, and the work that's being done, especially with the strategic plan. So thank you.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Start off the month, right? On our listening tours, are we gonna have discussion with those? Or are we just gonna go in, mum the word, and they're gonna present to us? And
Well, I'm happy to share some of
Yeah,
our
if you could
learning,
just-
because
yeah.
there are, listening sometimes is just, positive and unconditional positive regard for the message that's being shared, but it depends on the context. So, some of the work we did with our leaders as well is talking about, instead of asking why, asking what. I mean, there's some very specific strategies, so I'm happy to share some of those things that we're learning with our leaders with the board as well, because I believe as you listen, those skills also help the board as well. So it depends on the context, right? Sometimes we
good.
get the opportunity to just sit and listen and gather that. Sometimes there are some clarifying questions, but sometimes as leaders we talk more than we listen. So I think that's a big message for us that we want to put out to the community is we really do want to hear from you. Some of the things we talked about with the strategic plan and then with the listening tours is really this idea of, San Juan County is such a huge county. So the community that you're in, people know who you are, right? But when you go to another community, they may not know who you are. So some of that work is really going to be, how do we better identify ourselves? I know Jacob really wants to design T-shirts for us, so that's one of the things we talked about. But when the superintendent goes to a different community that maybe I don't know as well, not everyone there is going to know me. So how do we identify who we are? We've talked about some connection tables using the model that Whitehorse has used, so the board members could be a part of that. And we can talk about that more as we implement our strategic plan. So there will be some strategies and some things like that will help us get to be more visible, to be listeners.
yeah,
That makes sense.
I like that.
Thank you. If we're, let's move on to the next thing, which is Monument Valley Fire Station lease transfer. So welcome you to kind of give us more information about what we're wanting to do today.
Do I need to push this button?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, there you go. It's green. Hi. Thanks for giving us a minute. My name is Jens Nielsen. I'm here with San Juan County. I'm here with the fire chief for the county, David Gallegos. And then we have online John Williams, who's the Navajo Nation fire chief. What we're here to talk about basically is the Navajo Nation taking over the fire station, the fire services in the county, in the south. What does that mean to the school district? it really means a change in the leasing arrangement. So the Monument Valley property and the Montezuma Creek property, both of those have leases associated with them. So if the district is supportive of this move, there will just be some details coming in the future where there will probably be some new leases signed or some modifications to the current leases. I don't believe there will be any financial impact one way or the other, or any impact personnel-wise or anything like that. So, is that covered, David? Any questions?
And any input as well from John Williams online too. The only thing to add for the board is that if you looked at the agenda today, the original lease agreement that was signed with the district and the county is on there. And so this would just be an alternate lease agreement where we would be leasing the property rather from the county to Navajo Nation. So
The county will be relinquishing all of any ownership of lands, lease rights, and also equipment and so forth.
So is this land currently Salmon School District land?
yes, we own the property and currently we're just leasing it to the county.
And so we would be leasing it to the Navajo Nation Fire Services.
Correct.
How long is the lease?
So the current one, it doesn't have a date of termination, but it was signed back in 2006.
Supposed to be 100 years.
He said it's supposed to be 100 years.
Wow.
It's a short-term lease.
I think 50 years, if we're being,
So I think there has been communication between the county and the Navajo Nation already regarding
Yes.
this.
Yes.
And so you're just bringing it to us to, yeah, ask us to get on board,
This-
basically.
Yes, great. The school board has the lease arrangement, so
Yes.
the lease would be, you'll have a different tenant and a different, probably just a new lease. Other than that, shouldn't be much.
Did anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
I would just ask, just a question, and has the Navajo Nation ever talked about developing land around there? I mean, there's very limited land there, and in my understanding, the reason we have leased to like the county entity is because, as you can see, for miles, land, but that's not land that you can utilize because it's owned by the Navajo Nation. Now, this would maybe be the first time that I'm aware that we would be leasing to the Navajo Nation. And they have miles of land as far as you can see. I'm just wondering if the Navajo Nation has ever explored, or you're aware, Don, if they've ever had talks about building some infrastructure with all that land that they control, because at a time, maybe we need this land for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, I would like to at least know if there's plans of that or any talk ever of that.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard of anything. The only real structure that is of any concern there is the new chapter house. And I think they're gonna put that across the road by the Welcome Center. As far as the lease for the fire station, I'm sure this is probably all new to the area, and this is the first time I've
I mean,
heard
I
about
realize that
it.
it's an existing facility, so it's probably just easier to take over the
right.
lease of it.
And I don't know if Chief Williams can speak more to that, but one thing that the school district could also explore too, where this current lease agreement is for 150-year period and 2 automatically renewing 25-year periods. So rather than doing what effectively is a 100-year period, the board could also explore doing a lease directly with Navajo Nation that's a shorter term, so that idea can be explored in the future. Navajo Nation building their own fire station on its own land rather than leasing from the school district.
Might
So
be-
that's something I hadn't
Be
thought of.
wise, because, I mean, they have access to land that we don't have access to, I guess is what I'm just trying to say. is
Sure.
They have lots of land, where we're very limited in a very small amount. Anyway,
I think my concern would just be whether they want to expand on those fire stations and how that would affect us with the lease. But you said nothing will change with personnel, equipment, or anything like that. I mean, we'll
Right.
still get the same support. I mean, the communities will still get the same support that they've had before. Is that correct? Okay. That was it.
Did anybody else have any
Well, I was
comments?
just wondering, because I'm, the first time I'm hearing it, is that something that needs to be announced at the chapter meeting or perhaps in the community?
I guess, I think that's great. Yeah, I'm not sure what rollout has been discussed or done. We have Chief Williams online. I don't know if has any thoughts on that. The main thing for today is if the district is supportive of the concept, some of these details will be worked out.
Okay.
I
yeah.
mean.
So this is kind of the
This is-
first
yeah.
approach, yeah.
This is the,
Okay.
this is the beginning. This is the beginning of a new 100 years.
Or maybe a shorter lease.
Yeah. Maybe shorter lease.
Maybe shorter, yeah.
But a lease, continuing services.
It could be, 25-year lease, period.
I agree with Jacob. I think, as we're limited on land, that perhaps, that'd be a good, and it's right across from the elementary school. So, to one day reclaim that land, so.
And so I guess just from a legal standpoint with that, the board would be voting on terminating the current lease with the county. And then, we can either have something that says that we are agreeing to at least start the negotiations with Navajo Nation for terms or whatever else it may be, rather than subletting the current lease, which, I don't know if the county has any preferences either way, but if that is the goal, is to have a shorter term of a lease, that would probably be my recommendation, is to terminate the current lease with the county effective as soon as we have a new lease agreement signed with Navajo Nation.
I think that would be smart to do, but we would need some input from Navajo Nation Fire Chief if we could. I mean, the sooner the better, and I'm sure the county would like to clear this up ASAP too.
Yeah, if the district is supportive of the concept, then I think all parties will move ahead and these details will be worked out.
I'm
Terminate.
emailing with Chief Williams back and forth. He says that he's just having a little bit of a hard time hearing us, and so I don't know if that's a matter of us needing to speak into our mics a little bit more, but I'll just message him back here.
And so who would work out the legal aspects of this?
The county's willing to help with
Okay.
any paperwork that's needed, and then
Okay.
I suppose we would just circulate it to the different parties that need to sign. And
So today, we would just be agreeing to move forward with a new lease agreement.
I think today's approval is to say that the district supports the concept of the Navajo Nation taking over these services and modifying the leases according to the new arrangement, whatever that turns out to be.
And I'd be willing to work with the county and Navajo Nation to work up an agreement that we would then bring back to the board for sign off.
Can I ask why we want to end this lease, or why we're eliminating the county from that?
I think it's mainly a request from the Navajo Nation.
Okay.
Is that right?
If you want to come to the mic.
Thank you for having us here today. So a little bit of history. Back in 1992, the Navajo Nation was having a hard time building a fire station down in Monument Valley and Montezuma Creek. So the county stepped in and helped them with the fire stations. And that's how we came about this. And then Chief Williams have been talking to the delegates, and they told them that it would be a good time for them to start taking responsibility for their area, since our jurisdiction is kind of limited. So this is where we are.
Okay.
And the lease, Chief Williams is the one that brought it up. He's the one that wanted to change it. I don't know why, but that's what he requested.
Okay. But the county's in support of it?
Right.
Doing that, right? Okay. Thank you.
Did you have anything more, Jacob, or is that?
And I don't know that I necessarily have a stance on it. There are certainly pros and cons to each. But as far as us being able to lease land, I don't see any issue with that portion of it. And, it would just be a matter of, obviously our students are there. We want to make sure that they're having the most safe and secure environment that they can. And so that we have whoever is out there, that they are responsive and that they are meeting our students' needs. And I don't know that necessarily one party would be better than the other to make that happen. And so as we're negotiating with Navajo Nation, as we're negotiating with the county, we would just want to make sure that we're discussing those needs as well and making sure that we're providing for the community out there in the best way that we can, so.
I guess my only other comment would be is if we can get some follow-up from the chapter. I mean, we had our delegate here today, and this would have been a good discussion item for him to be here
Right.
for. So if we can get some feedback, I mean, that's what I would ask anyways.
Sure.
And
My
I
board.
kind of understand a little bit now, after what Mr. Gallego said, because I know anytime there's an emergency, there's a lot of confusion as to who needs to respond.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, and you usually ask them, is it a tourist or is it a native? I know that's one question they ask, so they know which direction to go or to respond from.
So a jurisdiction issue as well.
Yeah, the jurisdiction issues, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time today and for
Thank
your
you.
input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, we turn time back, actually, to Dr. Begay and Paul Murdoch.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon.
Oh, now we've got him.
I'm sorry. This is Fire Chief Williams
Yes.
from Navajo Nation Fire and Rescue.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'd just like to chime in for a bit and let you guys know our thoughts and suggestions. The Navajo Nation was approached by Seminole County to see if we are able to take over the fire station, which I agreed to. And we also talked about the other possible fire stations within Seminole County, Utah. So that's also kind of like the idea is for the Navajo Nation to take over because of the recent funding adjustment that we had with our department. We are hoping that we would hear good thoughts and also approval on this matter, and we're willing to negotiate any lease agreement and support the school and the community. And this is a good step forward for the Navajo Nation as well as Seminole County, Utah. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, or?
Just the follow-up, if we could, I mean, I would definitely think would clear a lot of our questions and where are the stances from Navajo Nation and the chapters if they're asking that. So, thank you,
So,
Chief Williams.
yeah, you said there is funding now for the Navajo Nation to be able to do that, which wasn't the case before, is that correct?
That is correct, ma'am.
Okay.
Back in 1992, I think our annual budget salary or budgeting was like somewhere in like 100,000 a year.
Okay.
So it was nearly impossible to operate in such a large, vast, New Mexico, Utah, and Arizona. But now that we have the support of the special revenue fund that we receive, we're willing and able to operate out of the Monument Valley Fire Station. So that's something we're looking into, and hopefully that we will be able to operate out of there and serve our Navajo people on the Utah side as well.
Okay.
Mr. Williams, do you receive funding from San County, Utah?
That is no, we don't. I know there is funding from, I'm not sure the actual term for it, but we don't receive that funding.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying. it's good to know more information about that, so thank you.
Do you think we need to get UNHS involved as well?
Well, I worry that, I guess my other comment would be, I worry that jurisdiction is always going to be an issue, especially right there at the state line. And are they going to have to, if Navajo Nation takes over the lease, are they still going to have to ask if it's tourist or if it's a local or native? So,
Right,
and
right.
if that involves our schools and our students, is that the first question they're going to ask? Is it, you know?
Yeah,
So, I mean,
exactly.
and not only that, if there's enough personnel to cover such a case, because we've had active emergency drills at different schools and making sure that they're able to cover such a
Right.
vast area as well, too, so.
Right,
That would be my concern.
That we
For that.
have emergency services for
Yeah.
the schools.
Yeah.
Yes.
We would hope there would be collaboration still
Right,
related
right.
to that.
Yeah.
So. Okay, again, thank you for your time. I think
Your concern as well.
Yeah.
I think we're ready to move on to the next thing, so we'll welcome you guys back up again. Thank you.
A delegate question.
I'm glad he could chime in, that's awesome. Okay, today we're here talking about the positive behaviors plans. This was due to recent legislation, so this is last year was the first school year where each school needed to put together a positive behaviors plan. And I just wanted to remind the board what the intent of that was. So positive behavior plans directly from state guidance should work to address peer pressure, mental health, and creating meaningful relationships in schools at all grade levels. So some examples of how to do that would be building skills, student skills. So we talk about resistance to combat peer pressure, bullying. So we have bullying prevention programs that are used in each of our schools. In the elementary, that is the Tough Kids Bully Blockers, and in the secondary, that's our Oveus program that we use there. Could be leading to mindfulness, working with social workers to teach those lessons, or school counselors. The other thing is increasing protective factors. So working to have our students involved in their school setting in some way, working to make sure that they feel welcome and appreciated there. We could look at helping them get food or clothing, those different resources. So our school social workers have been in there. And then also working on addressing the school climate for positivity and working to help our students and staff feel safe and welcome there. And then last thing is whatever we implement, that we work to implement evidence-based programs. And that's what we've done. So all of our schools have submitted plans, and you'll see the 25-26 version is the plan that was approved last fall, probably August or September. And then they have added the principals have added a brief summary of how this plan was implemented at the end of each plan. And then you're also looking at the 26-27 plans for all of our schools. Anything you want to add?
I think there's some similarity. I think there's also from year to year, there's plans that were in place. And again, based on the feedback from the administrators, you'll see if they're continuing that plan or making slight adjustments. So there might be a lot of similarity in plan to plan.
We work to develop the template based on the state guidance to really accompany what the schools are already doing with PBIS, so positive behaviors, working to really build that capacity. There was funding that was promised when this was initially passed that never came. So there is no funding, so it's just really doing the plans that we've always been doing in a more formalized place and way.
So when it says $1,000, that never came?
That, I was speaking with Jacob, that never came from the state to implement the plan. And then it was, I think, $3,000 for the person to develop it and implement that. That never came from the state.
But we do try to find funding each year from our other budgets, program budgets, to give them some funding for people.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for that
it's
clarification.
employees that we already have are just taking on an extra role,
Well,
basically, currently.
Really, it's formalizing our PBIS plans
Yeah.
that we've been doing for years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I tried to look through them, and I got a little overwhelmed. Was there any significant difference in any of the plans that you noticed?
From last year to this
Yeah.
year, changing personnel, potentially adjusting some roles as that's come about. Blanding Elementary with changing personnel, that one probably has a difference in there, and looking at a restructuring of the PBIS team. That's
Yeah,
one I
makes
can
sense.
point out.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple ones for the secondary. I know with Navajo Mountain and the transition we had this last year, there's some gaps there. So again, that just needs to be identified, and working with the administrator from the past to see what was in place. And then again, changing of personnel as well. Same for some of the locations, and then same thing with Monument Valley as well. So in some of as these forms come back out to their attention, it's a reflection component on their school and kind of what they need to do. So again, I've had a good conversation with the administrator at MB to see what they can do differently and better in implementing the plan. So I think there's just putting this on the radar. Again, there's things of priority, and this probably is one of the ones that falls somewhere down towards the bottom of that list, but I think it's stuff that they're already doing. It's just formalizing that and making sure that the plan has a reference to. And again, with secondary, I think there's a lot of components with the different issues or some of the components within the plan that need to be addressed, and it's often looking at additional outside resources and how to meet that. So,
Can I jump in?
yeah.
You'll also see that some of the schools are using the third millennium curriculum, where other schools are using a different curriculum. So these curriculums are approved to use with our students for prevention, particularly for substance use prevention. So you may not see all schools using the exact same curriculum. And then to speak to what Dr. Begay is speaking about, it appears that they didn't understand how to do the report. So we'll have to bring those two schools' follow-up report back to you. Their new plans can be approved today, but we won't be able to approve their reports. So we probably could even just bring them on the consent agenda for next month, so you could approve those.
And those are two new administrators.
Yes, I appreciate you noting that, but I also appreciate having a template. I think that is useful for our leadership teams to not be starting from scratch, to actually have something to work with and be able to fit it into a system that makes sense. So thank you
And it's easier
that.
for us to read too.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm able to follow that a little better,
Yes.
and I appreciate that. So that was probably my big thing. I did, just looking at this though, I know last fall we had asked for one student representative, or at least something in there. I see it there on some of the report or on the templates that there is like a student body president, or I just wasn't sure, are we gonna continue with that person being the representative for the students, or I just wondered how each school would do that, or how they're encouraged to do that.
If that's what the board wants, we will make it happen.
I think we asked for that
Yeah.
last fall, so
I'd like to see more student leadership.
Yes.
more student leadership too, so yeah, that we can get that.
Are these plans shared with parents? Is there?
I believe that they are shared in the school community council as part of what's happening there. I
Yeah,
don't
they
know
are.
if it's been-
Yeah,
okay,
they are. Yeah.
So in the school community council, but not in a wider setting?
We can make that happen, though.
I just
Yeah.
wonder, I mean, when you read through these plans and you see all the things that are happening in our schools, it's very impressive.
Yeah.
But I would hope that we don't have parents that wonder if those resources are available, if these things are being taught, not even sure what, anyway. And I know we can never get to everyone, but I just wonder what steps we are taking to try to inform the people we work with, our clientele, our parents, and what's happening in these schools so they're aware.
And I think there are pockets, so again, like if they're part of like a Hope Squad, they're gonna know about that and how that relates to the plan, whereas majority of families might not know what that is or what they do. So I think that is part of the process of getting that student engagement back, so that we can help share that with not only other families, but the student body as well too.
And components of the plan are included in the student handbook. So your different schools, you're going to see parts of these plans in the student handbook that the parent would get as well. But that is something we can discuss about. I mean, this ties directly to our strategic plan, being more transparent with parents to help them understand what's happening in our
I'm
schools.
seeing so many efforts to reach out and be more connected with our shareholders, so.
It's a
I
great
think it would be
recommendation.
really Good at the back-to-school nights, when we bring our
Oh,
parents.
A
that's a good
version that would
together.
fit into there, I mean, they don't
Yeah.
want to take an hour and a half, it would, but yeah, there might be, just make sure that they're aware there's a plan and where they can read it, and
Yeah, and almost maybe a pamphlet or something to
Yeah,
hand out at
something.
CCR Day, something like that.
One-page handout on it, something that says, you know, we.
QR code, this is where you go to find this
Oh,
is where you go to
Yeah,
find
awesome.
this.
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Code
I'll
would
go
be
take
awesome,
these notes.
so.
Maybe even a suggestion area as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the website?
They have breakout sessions, it could be one,
Yeah.
something like that.
Let's just keep adding.
Love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's good work.
I love it.
You know,
Some
and-
plans you.
I just want to add that, you know, as we're talking about the school councils, I know in Monument Valley, we're having trouble trying to recruit parents, and I hope perhaps we can somehow get more involvement with our parents and our students as well. So, yeah. It's tough to try to get our parents involved down there. I know my wife is the president down there of the school board, and she's really struggling and trying to find some parents to help her get through the school year and get some involvement, so.
I wonder if we could leave some blank forms for the parents to fill out, like at back to school night, and they can fill them out themselves and add to the suggestion
Like
part.
suggestions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be good.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. And I know with school community council and recruitment and different things, sometimes they'll ask, like, do you know a parent who would like to do this or may be interested in that? So maybe ramping up those efforts and really trying to see if they're ready to.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Well,
I
thank
like
you
it. It looks
again.
good. and-
I feel like we're uniting and engaging. We're working on things, so.
I love the ideas.
Yeah.
All
Thank you.
right.
So when I attend the chapter meetings, I always give information to the
Yes.
people that are there at the
Yes.
chapter meeting to go on the website. I tell them, you all have a phone, go on the website. There's a lot of information.
We're working
That's
on
there.
making that more
Yeah.
accessible and understandable too, so.
Yeah.
It's all in progress, but yeah.
That's a good idea.
Thank you for advocating for that, so. All right, we'll let
Thank
you
you.
sit down, maybe. We might call you up again, who knows? And we'll turn the time back over to Dr. Fitzgerald.
All right, so there have been some significant changes with the Teacher and Student Success Act. So you'll see that our framework that we're required to approve looks quite a bit different than what we've done in the past. While the framework looks different and our what the board will be approving today is going to look different, how we're allocating that funding is look very similar to what we've been doing from the years past. So I just want to add that clarity. We just needed to cover all of the new ways that they want us to present this information for the board to approve, and then there's some changes. So let me just touch on those. First, our projected allocation this year for the TSSA program is $1,328,313 and some change. I didn't add the change on here. And what that will look like is it's allowable to spend up to 25% of that to cover educator salaries. So every year we have been doing that since this program began, and we would like to continue doing that. So we're proposing that again this year to the board. There's an estimated cost on here. Now, I think this is important just to note, if we hire a new teacher who's at a different step or lane, that number, that's why we're calling this an estimated cost, because as the year goes on, this could go down or go up. So just making sure you're aware of that. The second one is we do cover a portion of school counselors and school social workers and school psychologists. I think it's really important to know that there's not really a secure funding source for elementary school counselors, for educational psychologists, and for school social workers. So that's coming from different programs within our school district. We often use at-risk program funding, and that is the intention of at-risk is to provide services for our most at-risk students. So this looks a little different than maybe what it's looked like in the past. But the majority of the funding is coming from at-risk and from TSSA. So that's why this is such a large amount, and that may adjust over the next few years as well. So you can see the amount estimated cost there. The third priority is really getting as much money as we can back into the hands of the school to determine what are their individual needs. This has been based upon the Sound and Quest model, which again, it still is, but we are aligning it even more closely with our strategic plan. So as we think about our strategic plan and the 90-day plans, school improvement plans that schools are developing, we really are redesigning what the framework that will come to you next month, the school's plan will look like to be more aligned to those goals, so that we're really streamlining all of the plans that they have to really say, what are we targeting for academic achievement for our students, that aligns with the district strategic plan as well. So I think you're going to see that alignment as we go through. And then that funding, there's been some changes of how that's distributed by schools. So in the past, we're able to say, per student, based upon the average daily membership, we're going to give this allocation. We no longer can do that. If you look under the school distribution calculations, you can see how we're now required under the new legislation to distribute the funding. And this is from actually the early literacy bill, Senate Bill 241 is what established this formula. Even with this formula, we're able to say, that as a district, we reserve the right to establish, some form of an equitable. We have really small remote schools that maybe will get more funding than this formula may show for them. So we are working on that, whether we do that through TSSA or through the at-risk funding to ensure that each school has what they need. Just know that in Title I, with the cuts in Title I, that all of this is kind of working together. And then you'll see these plans next month submitted to the board for approval. So you'll see those numbers will look a little different than what they have in the past based upon that new formula. I think the last thing I really want to highlight here as well is that there are now elementary literacy requirements. So pursuant to Senate Bill 241, depending on how a school performs on Acadience, they may also mandatorily have to give portion of their TSSA fund to redirect to interventions specific to literacy, early literacy K-3. So I just want to point that area out, and those will be in the plan. So if a school falls in that area, you will see that in the plan next month, and then they will come up with their plan for interventions specific to that area as well. So the board has two really responsibilities with this. One this month, which is approving this framework, and then next month approving the individual school plans.
Thank you for answering our questions before we ask them. Does anybody else have comments or questions? Oh, yeah, you did a great job of anticipating what we were going to ask, so.
There's
yeah,
lots of
thank you
new
for that.
details.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to the next thing.
So you're probably starting to see a theme as we're rolling out our strategic plan that we really are trying to align our communication and transparency and our alignment with the work of the board, with the work of administration and in our schools. So we have, as a superintendency, worked on a potential school board report, knowing the feedback that you have given, the conversations that have happened in our strategic planning sessions with stakeholders that are from the community, parents, IEC members, school community council. So this is not the pretty plan, so I want to highlight that. This is not you've got the Quest model and our colors and all of that. So look past that and look at the content. So we have just a proposal for the board to have a discussion about of potential. So each month we have schools that present to the board, and then we also have our district reports. District reports, I think, have been pretty aligned to our goals and the strategic plan. This is really looking at it more from the principal side. While there might be some minor tweaks with our department reports, what we really would like for you to take a peek at today is I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of what this looks like, and then I'd love your input of what does the board want to hear from our schools. And we appreciate all the work that our school leaders do to come and present to the school board and answer your questions. So I think this will help streamline that. So one of the things, in the past, we had shorter board reports. It seems like those reports have become longer. So just think about the time that you would like to hear, how much for questioning. We put some of those guidelines in here, so really contemplate that so we can have a real good discussion, because then we're going to go to principals and have this discussion with them as well. So just overall in developing, the first slide just is the development of the report. And this really goes hand in hand with the school administrator and the assistant superintendent who works closely with that school. So they would work together to develop this slideshow using the template that's provided. And the pictures, we'd like to kind of keep the template the same, and then at the end, right before the question slide, they could put as many other pictures or things they want to celebrate. So they could still add that to it, but we want to have the time to talk about the goals and align it to the strategic plan and their 90-day plan and school improvement goals. And then you can see, one of the things we've been working on is how do we ensure we're getting these in a timely manner and giving the board all the information you need when you get these reports. So it's really difficult for the board when you have one slideshow and then what was in their 90-day plan or what was in their TSSA plan or their school land trust plan. So we'd really like to streamline that for the board. So our recommendation is that final package that the school submits with support from the assistant superintendent would include this slide deck that's on here. It would also include their 90-day plan, their TSSA plan, and their school land trust plan. Now, you'll have approved these and you'll have seen them, but I think it makes it easier for the board to understand it all if you have all of those together in one package. So that would be attached to the board agenda for you. And then the recommendation was that the principal would have 8 minutes to present the slides, and then from there, the board could ask any questions, obviously, that you might want to ask. And I don't know if you want a time on that. I wasn't going to propose a time, so that's really up to the board. I don't know if that's how many minutes you want the principal to present. We also would really like the board to consider questions that align to, we're really trying to align to what we're focused on, to align to what is in the presentation and what is in the TSSA plan and what is in the school land trust plan and the 90-day plan. So while the board always has the option, they can ask whatever they want, I think that helps the principal come prepared to speak to those things specifically. And not to say, I'm in no way saying you can't ask anything you want. I'm just letting you know, principals, they do get stressed about coming in and asking questions they didn't see coming. So, and you've done a great job not doing that. So that's the first kind of overview. And then this slide deck aligns to our collateral that was approved by the board in May. So the first slide that they would be presenting is the strategic vision and alignment. This is really their celebration slide to say, what are you going to celebrate that aligns to the district mission and the core values that were in our strategic plan? And so they can pick one of these areas. It cut off the notes when I made it a PDF, so you're not seeing the notes and guidance for the principals, but it's pick one of these areas that you really want to celebrate their amazing things. And they can pick more than one, put pictures on it, and start out with aligning to the core values and the mission of what's happening in their school that they're celebrating. The next slide would be completed by the assessment director or the assistant superintendent, and this would be the school report card. So you would have a slide that has the actual Data Gateway school report card loaded on here, so you can see that data from Data Gateway of what the state is using for accountability measures for that school. So it's very visual and easy to understand. The next slide would also be created by the assessment director, so we would streamline that by school. So elementary schools would look a little different because they're going to have your early literacy, early mathematics, but then they would also have your RISE data as part of this and any other data that we would want to share. And then secondary schools would also have a template. So when you see any elementary school, it would look the same. The data would be different, but the layout would be the same. So as board members, it's much easier to compare schools and look across the year. So we will take that, and that also will take time that the principal doesn't have to worry about. How do I fill in all these, this table? The next slide really is giving a brief summary, so they don't have to copy everything off their 90-day plan, but a brief summary of their school improvement plan, their 90-day plan, divided into the 2 pillars from the strategic plan. So this is really creating that alignment between the district strategic plan and the 90-day school improvement plan. Our 2 pillars are educate and empower, so it's really thinking about our academic achievement, our college and career readiness, our portrait of a graduate, and the second one is the unite and engage, and that's where you're going to see goals that are more aligned with communication and with parents and safety, belonging in the school, that type of thing. So they would pick their 90-day plan goals and just give you a brief overview of those goals on here as well. Slide 7 would give you the academic growth and any data cycles. So PLCs are a system we use throughout the district. So this would be a chance for them to highlight the PLC work that they're doing and any individualized targeted areas. You know, we have over half of our schools that have targeted school improvement, TSI groups. They might be an ATSI or CSI, but this would give a chance to give an update on that population of student that the state is monitoring for them. Although you'll see that in their 90-day plan as well. And then pillar 2, the Unite and Engage, would really be highlighting any special events or projects, their heritage language programs for our schools that have those, and then any shared expertise as they work with their school community council. I know oftentimes that's a question that comes up from the board, so I wanted to make sure there was an area that they could share any of that with as well. is what role is, and this could also be their student council, White Mesa Student Success meetings, any of that type of work could be on here as well, which very directly aligns with Pillar 2. And I think over time, as we move through our strategic plan over the first year, and then as we go through the next 4 years, I think this is going to make a lot of sense, because we're going to make progress toward that plan, and we're going to get even more aligned between that larger, overview with what's happening at the individual school level. And then, of course, school board questions always. We always have those available as well. So that is our proposal from the superintendency of what maybe this report could look like for you. But we are open to any recommendations you might have, any adjustments to ensure that we're providing for the school board a report about the school of what you would like to know.
I really like the transparency and also the system where they know what they're doing instead of trying to put something together or even working with something previous, and they're putting the current data in, and we really want to see that. And also the aspect of the community. I think there is a lot that goes on with the community, but it doesn't always get shown to us. So to add that to this, we're able to tell the community, look, we are trying to engage with you, and here's opportunities for you to become even more engaged. So thank you for that. Also, sorry, I gotta keep going, but I really like that you're including district leadership in getting this preloaded, pre-approved, to where they're getting that support, that they know where to get the data, what data we want to see, and also by the time it comes to us, it is polished. It's not incomplete. So thank you for all the effort that's gone into that. Go ahead, anyone else?
And this would be great when you attend a chapter meeting, you have an overview of what the school is doing, and, and it'll be much easier to present than trying to bounce around here and there with all these questions. So I think this is a great idea.
Go ahead.
I absolutely love the alignment for what, you're doing we're doing in the strategic plan to seeing what we'd bring to board meeting. I wonder about the idea, there's so much here, and this could be, we could go so deep into this type of discussion. I mean, it could dominate board meeting for an hour and a half, and it can't because of time. But I really wonder if, rather than a principal or board administration or district or board, all of us working together, rather than us all hustle to get it there that Friday before board meeting and then have us hurry and look at it and get our questions, if it could be broken out over the month that they report, to where maybe it comes in the first week, or it comes in 3 weeks before, and we have a calendar that shows this is the school reporting in board meeting next month. On the 15th, the previous month, you're going to get this. Board members, please dive into it. And there could be a process maybe where we put our questions in, so they've seen them, or possibly even some dialogue back and forth preparing for board meeting, I don't know, but so that we can have a deeper, this is really exciting to me, because this is the meat and the bullseye of what's happening in those schools, and all the different plans that are coming together with the actual data that's coming out of that school, where it can all kind of fit together. But it's going to be hard to put together if we hit it from Friday before board meeting to Tuesday of board meeting, and in 3 days or 4 days we've got it all covered. I think we might still be grasping for time. And anyway, I like the idea maybe of knowing that they would have a deadline, and then maybe a week later board members would have a deadline of getting questions back, so that it would just be a process we settled into of, you're presenting in November, well then in October you're gonna have this by this date, and the board will hopefully be previewing it. I don't know that we'd all be responsible to send questions back, but we'd want to be on our, we'd want to fulfill our responsibility as well, as to really look into that and provide feedback or questions. And Anyway.
Ron, I really appreciate your comments there because we are trying to be as engaged as we can be as a board. And that is an awesome way to pull us in and get us really showing up to do the work. So thank you.
I was wondering if we could have a post, like a board that we could submit our questions to so that we can all read and make sure that we're not duplicating questions.
Like a Google
Yeah,
Doc.
Yeah.
If we could see what had been submitted in this process.
Right.
Any other comments? It's a good thing we have extra time today. Well, we're doing well.
I just have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would we do this for next month? Is that enough heads up for a trial run for next month?
Yeah,
A
we
lucky
can,
principal.
we've got 2 principals coming up that are pretty experienced. So I think with the support of our 2 assistant superintendents and our assessment director, we can start working with them immediately and get some things together and see how it goes. So I think that's a great idea.
We can all be patient as we work through settling it into
Yes,
a system.
it'll take a few months to settle out the kinks,
Yes.
so I appreciate
So, I mean,
that
we'd have to
comment.
have that
Yeah.
understanding that.
I just really appreciate the board saying this is the work that we're doing, and the more aligned we are and the more information we have. I appreciated Lucille's comment about attending chapter meetings and having all the information here already. And we have amazing school leaders, and so I think giving them that time to prepare and then having this dialogue. I mean, sometimes it's strange as having been a principal and standing there, and then that's, your one interaction with the board for the year. I mean, although we do see board members at events and in our schools, I think this is a better way to interact with them. So I think that's going to be a very positive experience as well, with building those relationships with our school leaders, with the board in a very positive, thoughtful way.
Yeah, I'd like to share a comment to that. In being part of one of these strategic plan pillar teams, I've been able to work with a couple of different principals. And one in particular said that she was grateful to see that we are human beings, that we're not these all-powerful people behind this table or whatever, which I'm definitely not. Yeah. So it is good for us to be able to interact and let them know that we're on their side. Absolutely. We want success in our schools.
And also to make it easier for them too, because I'm
Yes.
sure it's stressful enough to speak in front of
Yes.
the governing body, but I mean, just to make the report as simple as can be and as interactive. And I know they want to highlight, all the positive things too, but we also need to see where we're struggling at too, so.
And also where we can support them.
Yeah, exactly.
And we do a lot of celebrating in our weekly newsletter, so,
Yeah.
I think the board is included with that, as well as everyone, within San Juan School District who works for us is included in that newsletter. So they get a lot of celebrating in, so I think this is going to help direct us to celebrate, some of the very specific accomplishments as well, because our students are doing amazing things, and we love to see their pictures in that newsletter. But I think this is very focused celebration.
Yeah.
Agree.
Thank you.
And that's what I use at chapter meetings, is
Yeah.
the
Newsletter.
newsletter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good things happening. Yeah. And I do think as well, hopefully, when I think about this and the purpose of this, I hope it also helps the board members, as you're hearing from community members, that you're informed about all of our schools. And I think this is one tool that can help that when they talk to you, you're like, oh, I know what's going on at Monument Valley High School, and, because of this interaction with all of these schools. And yeah, so,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
All right. Here we go. Thank you, Laura.
Here we go. I wanted to start today with thanking the board for participating in our summer workshops. Some of those were long days. I mean, there was one day we didn't even get through the policies we had on the agenda, so I appreciate the work. I think you'll notice, I think we have 19 policies today. We had a couple we didn't get to. We had a couple we pulled because as I started getting them ready for the board, I found that there were more things we needed to fix, so they will come back to our next policy meeting. But this was a lot of work. I appreciate everyone's help with it. And what I maybe helped type these up, I'm not the expert, so all of the other directors in the room, if a policy relates to you, feel free to type up. So we can answer questions. So let's dive into it. So our first policy is the Board of Education compensation, and that will be part of this evening's hearing. But we did review this policy. So based off of the feedback we got in our June board meeting, we developed this policy to align with those wishes. So it is adding additional compensation, $100 per month for board leadership because of the additional duties they have. It also allows the board members to get an additional amount, maximum of $1,200 per year for attending additional meetings that may align with their discretionary budget. So that's the big changes to this one. And I think that was all. Sorry, my eyesight is bad, so.
All right, so we're receiving the health benefits, which is the same.
Yes,
So if
no
you look at the
changes
red
there.
line,
Mhm.
Yeah. There's also the $340 per month compensation for services. And board leadership, the difference there would be board leadership would receive $100 per month extra. And, sorry, I'm not questioning you, I'm just
No,
making
yeah,
sure
we're
that
summarizing.
the public
And
knows what we're looking at here.
Number 4 on there, we also had all the additional language. So in our June meeting, we got a lot of feedback from what we really want those additional meetings to look like. So I tried to put that all into that number 4. So it has that they would be acting in their official capacity as a board member while they're at that event. And we also put in there that doesn't have to align with their specific voting district. So anyone can go to anything district-wide as a board member. And they would submit the documentation, and then we would add it as a stipend in the regular payroll. So $100 per meeting, in addition to what is already required of a board member.
So what would be some examples of that?
The
meetings.
chapter meetings aren't required
Is there
meetings.
anything beyond chapter meetings that you?
Yes, board leadership training, which is not in the county, but
Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission.
As kind of a shorthand, just anything that would be in a lot of travel that you'd be able to get reimbursed for, I believe is.
Yeah, it's on page 7 of the.
So we do get the mileage and the meal, but it's also a way of acknowledging that there's time put into that, you know.
So let me give you what is in the board handbook, so you're aware of that. So it's USBA leadership, including committee service and trainings, NAFIS, NISA, chapter meetings and other elective visits in the capacity as a school board member, and then any event that is mainly for board members in general, or the board member must be in the official capacity as a board member while attending the event. So it's anything that falls under that discretionary.
So like regional board meeting?
Yes.
So who will approve, you know, when the documentation, basically the business office?
I believe is it my office or your office, Superintendent?
Either one, because the
Okay.
handbook is written, and I mean, the board can approve the handbook to make changes in the future, but as it's currently written, we'll just go directly off of that. And I think that it will probably go through, because their other stuff goes to me first, so.
Yeah.
I don't know if it goes to me first, you second, I don't know where.
I think it.
Go to
Does
superintendent.
it
I think
go
it
to
just
me?
goes to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
The superintendent, thank you.
Yeah.
I know I clicked that button, so.
And this doesn't have to do with compensation, but I would like in the future, maybe add something to the board agenda where we have a report where board members discuss a chapter meeting that they went to and how they contributed, just to have a little bit of transparency about, you know, what we're doing.
Not only that, you'd have a record where if
Exactly.
somebody said,
I was there.
I wish the board would come and be
Yes.
more active in our chapter, we could go on and actually see how
Yes.
often were we at Mexican Water, how often have we been? And anyway, we'd have a record of where we were at.
Laura, would we need to put into language too that we're not just there, we're not signing in, and
I
there's
think-
actual work being
Yeah, it
done?
does
That is
say-
listed there.
Yeah, it
Okay.
says they must be active, yeah.
Another
Actively.
official
I think when
capacity.
you give a report at a chapter meeting, you would already be on the minutes
Yes.
when you give a
So
report.
you should be able to
Yeah.
send that.
And that would be your
as
accountability part,
documentation.
yeah. But we don't necessarily give reports at a regional leadership meeting or a USBA or.
Well, we interact, we
Yeah.
share, there's always some kind of
Actively involved in
participation.
the, yeah.
And frankly, yeah, with a lot of those things, there's just power in being in attendance.
So it's 2 trips
Yep,
that we would have to go to.
You have to get on this.
So, and the way that this is
In order to get
written
on the agenda, you have to attend the planning meeting.
is
So
you
it's
might,
2 formalities.
you might go to 3
Yeah.
meetings a month, but you're gonna get reimbursed for
Just one.
one.
Yeah.
So it's up to a
Unless-
maximum of 12 a year.
So- So you could, you
So
could
if you
hit that
had 4
12
months that
fast.
you didn't go to something, but you went to.
Right. So hypothetically, you could do 12 in 1 month and then you wouldn't get, I mean,
That's just.
we still want you to be, yeah, we still want you to, but yeah, so it's just capped at 12 in the entire year rather than 1 a month, if
The
that makes sense.
rationale was thinking if you went to an extra meeting a month, but there's no requirement that that's how you meet that
Right.
$1,200.
What do you think is good for the board? I mean, we know that as the school year starts, all of a sudden the chapters are reaching out saying, come present to us, come talk to us. So you may hit more chapters in August than you would at another time. And same when you might have regional board meeting and another USBA meeting all in one
Okay.
time.
And I
period.
think
So-
that would apply to both Lucille and I because we both share Red Mesa and she does Aneth and I do Mexico.
Yeah, and
so-
then I have Navajo Mountain and Ojado. So
Well, and
I might have
again,
to switch off
It,
or-
it does say
Yeah.
you don't have to be in that specific voting district,
Yes.
so any of
Because
us.
you get
and-
invited.
And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's good for us to be in the community,
Yeah.
for people to see who is.
Who's all on the board.
Yes, because we represent everyone once we're voted in.
Yeah.
And at the chapter meeting, this past chapter meeting, I was asked why I don't attend the Utah Commissioners meeting.
Oh, the San Juan
And-
County?
Yeah, because you represent our area, and I only see the superintendent there. Where's the board
Okay.
member?
So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Something we could
So
still be.
that's what I was asked.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
whispering
I
in
was
their ear
like-
in the background, I'm just not showing up to meetings.
Now I know.
Anyway,
Mhm.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we were as transparent as possible about this. And I do love the idea of us just being able to say, look, we are doing the
Just like
work.
the Utah Trust Fund too.
And-
They have a meeting.
And I appreciate the
like,
stipend aspect of it too,
Jeez.
because
Can I
not
get a
everybody's
life
gonna be
of
as
my own?
awesome as we are, so. Anyway, we got lots of other policies, but I just wanted to see, is there any other comments related to that before we move on?
And I'm sure we'll discuss this a little more with our hearing if there's any other questions we come up with, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The next one is the salary supplement for highly needed educators. So we are required to review this policy annually and adjust any of our positions we would like to label as a high needs area. We did not change anything for their high needs area. We left it with our K-12 special education, our secondary math, science, and then elementary education K-3 with a letters endorsement. So there were no changes there. So the other changes in this policy really are to just come into compliance a little bit more. When this first came out last year, we were probably one of the leading people to have a policy, which is great, but then other things come up that were missed because we didn't have the model policies and things of that nature. So some of the big things on there is listing the salary supplement as part of a teacher's base pay. And everything else is really just kind of cleaning it up a little bit. That was really the big change was the base pay. Questions on this policy?
I have none.
Again, thank you to all board members and committee members that participated in a lot of work related to this. We do have a policy committee, but I'm grateful that they didn't have to carry all of it, that we were able to spread the
This would have taken us
work.
years, what we.
And again, thank you to Laura for all your effort with that too, and the other district leadership. So I think if nobody has questions about that, just remember that we have looked into this. It's not suddenly showing up to us, you know. So if we're not talking a lot, it's not because we're not aware
Yes.
of what's going on here.
We covered it in our summer
Yes.
workshop.
Thank you.
Work session.
Okay, this policy is licensed employee leave. We did not give any additional leave to employees. What we really did here was clean things up. This is one of the few policies that have been we're addressing without having some statutory requirement. But we wanted it to match what our practice and policy is, what our practice actually is with leave. It's not feasible to manage leave the way the current policy was written, especially for personal leave. So that's why that got cleaned up, that we are allowing a maximum of 5 days. They get 3 at the beginning of the year, 2 carryover days. We're not tracking where those 2 carryover days came from. Additionally, with the vacation leave, the career classified policy specified where employees maxed out and how carryover is done, but the license didn't. So we're matching those because we treat them the same in our system. So that's where that cleanup comes from. With the civic leave, we remove the 20 days or more of sick leave available when somebody makes a request to use their civic leave. And then the other changes on here pertain to the Education Association using leave, and this is matching state statute and rule. So that was one area of this policy where once I looked into it, we needed to do some updates on how leave is given there.
So as you said, this is just aligning with
It's
how we
helping match
already-
our practice a little better.
Yeah.
There's no additional leave being given to employees.
Any questions related to that? Okay, let's move on.
All right. This next policy is similar, just matching it with the other policies on how we're doing our practice. The big change on this one is adding the compensatory time, giving the district the ability to require an employee to use their compensatory time before other accrued leave. So that's the big change for this policy. The other changes on there are similar to the licensed employee leave we just looked at, just matching those up and giving them to our practices. Additionally, we clarified who earns leave by giving the 20% on how much accumulated leave they earn. It felt confusing with the number of hours per year. So, but this policy also does not add additional leave for an employee. It's just cleaning it up.
Any questions or comments? All right, thank you. Next.
Okay, evaluation. So this policy is updating and aligning our evaluation policy with the USPE model policy. These are changes we've already implemented, so now it's just getting our policy to match. Some of the big changes, the summative evaluation now moves to a 4-year cycle. The rating system has moved from 4 levels to 3 levels. So you have the not effective, partially effective, and effective. The changes to the salary advancement restrictions are only to employees that receive a not effective rating. So that's a very quick summary of a lot of red on there. Updating some definitions. And really restructuring the policy. If you look at the clean next to the red, it's just moving things where it makes more sense.
Yeah, I do like the definitions and the way that they are all in one place and so that it's not repetitive. That one had a lot of work, but thank you for making it align.
Yeah, it looks a lot better than what it did.
Yeah, when you look at the clean, you're like, oh, this is so pretty.
Yeah.
If a policy's pretty. All right.
Questions or comments?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Okay.
Next.
Right, the next policy is keys. This is another one that didn't have any requirements, it's just one that we felt needed to be updated. So as most of you know, with a lot of our safety improvements, we are moving to some key card systems on the exterior doors of our schools. So adding key card on here along with keys. Also putting in some verbiage on who should be having access and being given keys, assigned keys, or key cards. So we put that language in there. And because we're getting key cards, we also wanted to make sure we had something on there to recoup any fines if we had to give replacement key cards. And then I just updated the statute language at the bottom to match the current.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Laura, I noticed on 8125.1, number 7, we just need to add the word "in." It says may result.
Oh, okay,
in.
yes, I see that now. Is it on the clean version too? I had the red pulled up.
I've got the red pulled up as well. Does anyone have the clean one?
And while you're looking at that, this is just more for the public and just for sakes of getting it on the record. The reason that we did say that where a person is given a key card, they should use the key card rather than a key, is that with the new key card system, whenever somebody unlocks the door with their key, it triggers a warning that says that the doors were forcefully entered. You know, it can't differentiate between somebody breaking in by picking the lock, by breaking a window, by any other means, or by unlocking the door. And so, you know, just for security reasons, you know, if someone was to use a key in the middle of the night, for instance, we would get a notification that the doors were forcefully entered. And so that would, you know, obviously put us on alert that we need to go check the cameras and make sure that nobody's breaking into the school. And so that's directly related to security. And another reason is that when someone uses their key card, it gives us, it just helps us to know who's using their key card to enter the school and at what given time. So a couple of just different things that are related to security there.
Will we be working with a security company that will be calling and if any kind of an alarm goes off or anything like that happens?
So it should, and Jared could probably speak more to me than me on this, but it should go to both the principal and to some of the administration here whenever that triggers that the doors were forcefully opened. It doesn't necessarily go to a security company, but we have licensed with the group that did the key card entry system with us to have. It's a pretty sophisticated software system. If Jared wants to speak more to that, then, you know, I'd invite him to do that. But it's needless to say, the principals will have a lot of access to be able to see who's entering the buildings at what times, and they will be given the warnings if someone does forcefully access the schools. So
at this point right now, with what we've paid for and contracted for them to provide, it will be a log entry that happened. We could, at a future time, with an additional project or integration, do something with that log entry. But right now, it will be a log entry that says someone entered the building as a forced entry.
And when we are talking about security, we do need to be careful about how much information we share in a public meeting. Not that we've done anything, but
Sure.
just remember. Yeah.
So why again will they be given both a key and a fob?
not everybody will.
Okay, some will?
Hmm. Yeah.
A very small group.
So are you able to program to what keys can open doors
Specific
with the software?
Yes, so we'll be able to program which doors and on what schedule a person can open those doors. And we're also planning to, after hours, make it so that you may have to present the card and also enter a PIN code.
Okay, so when you're saying force entry,
It's just recording that way because.
is after hours?
Grade 5 has the key card and use the physical key.
Oh,
At any time.
Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha.
if I was
Okay,
to
okay.
use my key in the middle of the day to open a door, it would still show up on the log as forced entry.
Okay, okay, that's what I was wondering.
Basically,
Right.
what it's looking for is the door was opened and It actually has a sensor to see a person from the inside, so if you go out the door, it won't say that. But if someone opens the door without a person on the inside, it assumes that someone opened the door without presenting a card in some way. And we want to know who came in. We want them to present a card to tell us who they are, so we call that a forced entry.
Okay.
And the reason some people will still be given keys is, as we might have learned today, that sometimes technology does fail. And so in emergency situations, it's still necessary to be able to access our schools with a key, so.
And on the clean version, it does have the in. I don't know how it got
Okay,
missed in the
perfect.
red, but I must have fixed it in the clean.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to 4311.
Okay. This one is staff bullying. So just updates here we needed to make. We updated some new required language, such as a provision that employees cannot create or distribute sexually explicit or non-consensual intimate images. We did update some more information on how to report incidents to include the hotline and Safe UT. And we also clarified that employees they have limited privacy expectations on a district network. Those are the big changes to this policy. Really the reporting and the investigation piece, just to update that language. And then at the end of the policy for the First Amendment, we just removed that information. It's still things we would consider, but we didn't feel like it was in the best interest to have that all laid out because we need to have some discretion when we're reviewing anything that might pertain to First Amendment. I guess another big change, I don't know how I missed this, is that a complainant can request that they remain anonymous in a bullying complaint, and that we have to respect that and not give their identity away. However, formal discipline cannot occur with an anonymous complaint. So there are due process requirements there, but that was some of the big language changed, was that we could honor an anonymous complaint, just knowing that formal discipline could not occur with that.
Also another one that involved a lot of work, but thank you for those that were involved with that. Any comments or questions related to that?
The next policy is similar. It's the student version of the same policy, so there are a few differences in there, but not a whole lot. Some new additions to this policy is adding language that requires the district or the schools to assess areas where supervision may be needed to, playgrounds, cafeterias, things like that. Which updated the restorative justice definition and how that is used. And then they also have the ban on the explicit pictures or images, the non-consensual images. And the reporting, it was updated quite a bit for this policy as well, giving those additional avenues with Safe UT or the hotline, and then the steps the principal would take in addressing any bullying complaints at the school. So the action plan page looks really red, but mostly a lot of that was in the original policy. It's just red because we restructured that.
Moved it to a different. Any questions or comments? Okay.
Can I just make a quick comment, President Barton? Just oftentimes we have individuals who believe restorative practices are practices that allow an individual just to be off the hook and not have consequences for the behavior. So I just want to, clarify that that is not what the definition of it is. Also, restorative practices, we don't force individuals to come together if they don't feel comfortable doing that. So I just feel like those are two practices that often get misinterpreted, and I would just wanted to add some clarity to what that looks like in San Juan School District.
I also appreciate that the policy addresses both bullying that could happen on school grounds, but it also addresses like school activities. So it might not be on district property, but it's still
And really saying if the
District.
it impacts the school, that we can take action on that as well, whether it happened at school or not.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Instruction. K-12 instruction.
Okay. This policy, the updates district curriculum rules to align with the recent legislation and USBE standards. Most notably, you'll notice for social studies. So beginning with the incoming sophomore class, the graduating class of 2029 cohort, they will now be required to earn 3.5 social study credits instead of 3. The U.S. government course is replaced with an American constitutional government and citizenship course. And then to maintain the total board required credits of 26, we have reduced the, losing all my words, elective credits from 7.5 to 7. And then the civics exam is no longer required. Additionally, we've updated language about senior year math for students who are going to go to college, what requirements are there. And we also added that 1/2 credit of the language arts requirement can be met with verbal communication credits. And media arts was added to the arts category as well.
Thank you again for explaining that before we asked any questions. Good job with that one. So. Next.
Okay, this one's work-based learning, and Gina came to me and said, you need to replace SCOP with CCR, and then you'll see all the red. So, oh, she left.
I know, she
So
was just here. I know.
I appreciate Gina for letting me overhaul this policy. Once I started looking at it, there was just a lot more that needed to be updated, but I got her feedback, and I think we've got a better policy out of it. So it is replacing SCOP with CCR. It's also outlining internship safety agreements for employers. And if they're not going to do that, requiring employers to submit to a background check if they're going to work with our students individually. One of the other big changes is with the workers' compensation, just stating that a student intern is covered under risk management as a volunteer government employee. We also updated the credits that can be earned for an internship and the hours per credit there. And then putting the language that the student must be a concentrator and the work experience must align with the student's CCR plan. Is there anything you'd like me to highlight, Gina? This policy turned red really fast.
It did. We got a lot of changing and a lot of updating to do. The work-based learning has changed a lot in the last 5 years. So there were a lot of changes and updates.
Well, I would like to note that there is language in here regarding safety and a professional and courteous environment. So I like.
That was the bulk of the
like
change,
that.
was the adding
Yeah.
the safety
Yeah.
language for students and what that looks like at the employer work site.
I also noticed just on page 2, when we have CCR, we need to add plan on the second and third red line for CCR.
Okay.
And I did check the clean copy, so.
Okay.
That's 2 minor adjustments.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, the rest of us. I know you're operating on lack of sleep, but I'm super proud of you for noticing. 'Cause,
And
yeah,
we've
some
been
of
through
us
these
are
how
all
many
in that-
times, and I
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
every once in a while, you still find things. How it goes.
She's on a whole other level.
That's
now.
all right,
She's
like
so sleep deprived that she's like.
I'd rather it look really nice when
Attending.
it's-
Sorry.
Yeah, I'd rather it be perfect when we approve it, or as perfect as it can be.
Exactly. Thank you for noting that. They don't have to be perfect for us to approve them. And we can still make changes as long as the core is
As long,
accurate.
yeah, as long as they're not substantive in nature.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
My typos and grammatical errors can easily fixed here.
All right, so cell phones.
Yeah, I feel like we're always talking about this policy, but maybe it's just. So this is a new or an updated policy from last year. We're updating it again. The requirements on, or when students can use phones in school has changed from classroom hours to school hours, which means bell to bell while they're on our campus. So that's the bulk of the change here, is adding that language. Also, with input from Jared, we've updated this section about personal electronic devices and privacy to just be more over-encompassing instead of really specific. We're highlighting, once again, you're gonna see this trend in a lot of our policies. We're making sure that students and employees alike are aware that they do not have an expectation of privacy on our network, and that we can search if we have a reasonable suspicion. Is there anything else you wanted me to highlight with the personal electronic devices, Jared?
Probably just what you said, that there were some devices that may not have been covered before, like a tablet or a laptop or something.
Yes, so we've added that definition to try to grab all of those new things. They come up faster than we can write policy. And then we did add the AI glasses as well. Under point 5, number 3, we do have the language that our cell phone ban isn't in effect when students are not on campus. So if they're on an open campus program, concurrent enrollment, college courses, that we're not overseeing that when they leave the school campus to participate in those activities, just the requirement that they adhere to the policies at those individual sites. And then the sanctions category was updated with what we are currently doing.
And I would like to note again that we kind of, the state came out with requirements, but we had already pioneered a policy a couple years ago, and we're including student leadership. So we're pioneering the way in making this work with collaboration from the students, and I think there's been success in that.
And Dr. Begay did update our cell phone guidance document, so that is currently on the district website. If you take a peek there, you can see that, and that will also be in the student handbooks as well as they're rolled out, so that communication is going out. And the same template that it was before, the colors have changed a little bit just so you know it's new, but it has the updates on there as well.
Thank you.
And then Laura, I wonder if you want to highlight on page 3 the paragraph about capturing video or audio, because I think that's a significant change that's been added to this policy as well. I'm on page 3 of the red line.
It's at the
Sorry, that wasn't very
bottom.
helpful.
Yeah.
Students and others in the public schools should not be.
Subject to video or audio capture, recording or transmission of their words or images without their express prior notice and explicit consent. And we also have the language that we have a reasonable expectation of personal privacy in certain situations like locker rooms, shower rooms, restrooms, those areas where recording and pictures should not be happening.
Thank you. All right. I think we can move on to the next one.
Hey, this policy is really expanding parental involvement and oversight in technology use with their students. So parents have the right to inspect their students' email files, receive annual written device policies. They can request alternative non-internet activities for their students, and they can monitor their students' device activity. So all of that language has been added. We've also added language, once again, about employees not having an expectation of privacy on a district device or network, and that things are that certain files would be discoverable under GRAMA. This is a policy the board is required to review every 3 years, so that's why at the top we put, I have today's date, but the date that this was reviewed and effective so that we can stay in compliance with reviewing this policy. So that's the big changes here, is the parental oversight for student technology use. Jared?
Probably not. I'm sure we'll have more discussions and more things to talk about on that one.
Probably the implementation piece on how we are going to meet parent requests are things we'll have to work through, but these are things they are allowed to request and look at.
And specifically one about the pre-approved content filtering.
Oh, yeah, oh, yes.
We're going to need to make sure that we have a good process for that.
So this can be approved as is, but you're gonna work on some of the processes to
Yeah,
implement it?
the process and practice will need to be worked on, but the
Okay.
policy as it is could be approved.
Okay, thank you. Is this 6550?
Yeah, this is an easy one. Yeah, just recommending removing this policy, retiring it.
Okay.
All of these things are captured in policy 6520 that
Okay.
we're gonna look over in just a minute, so it's duplicating. All right, next one is the tuition fees, fines, and charges policy. So this is updating, this is more updates to the fee waiver program that now requires that waivers are limited to 2 trips per year, per student per year, and it tells you what a trip is. It's a school-sponsored travel activity of 2 or more nights that requires a student to pay a fee for participation in the activity. It does not include activities that are sponsored by the UHSAA under that, so that's a big thing to note there. The other piece of this is if a student is requesting a second trip, a fee waiver student is requesting a second trip, they have to meet with their principal to develop an action plan of ways to participate, to contribute to their school, I guess.
Yeah.
So just some service they could give the school, things of that nature, if they're gonna take that second trip. And then we were required to specify a maximum amount a student could get with a fee waiver per year. So that's what this cap is $7,000 per student per school year for
And
fee
this-
waivers.
Sorry, I interrupted you. This came from the state, that's why we had to make these
Yes, these are
changes.
required changes.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the public was aware that this wasn't just something led by us, it is something that came from the state. Any other comments?
No, I'm glad you highlighted that because that was one thing that we wanted to make sure was
Yeah,
public
yeah.
information.
Thank you.
Did we miss
No, no, you
anything
covered it.
wanted to add on that one?
I think what's that?
We want to mention the cap.
We set the cap at the same amount that a school is currently allowed to have in fees against a student. So $7,000 is the maximum fees that a student can have. So it made sense for us to make that the maximum amount that a student can have in fee waivers. So.
I think that's a good clarity for the
Yeah.
community
Yeah,
because it might look.
that number isn't completely random. That number is just based upon the maximum amount that a student is allowed to have in fees. The other thing to note too is that, like Laura said, a trip doesn't count if it's sponsored by the UHSAA. So what that does mean is sporting events that are specifically state-sponsored do not count towards trip count, but things like sports camps probably do count unless they are specifically sponsored by the UHSAA. So that's just one thing that, we'll work with principals, we'll work with athletic directors, assistant principals, whoever else needs to be privy of this just to make sure that we're following the rules here, so.
Thank you. Okay, attendance.
Okay, so we've added a lot of terminology definitions for this policy. I've updated to remove about homeschool because the homeschool policy has changed. What the board has to respond and what we can request or what we can require from a parent going to homeschool. Sorry, I'm really stumbling right now over my words. And then there's a lot of changes in here. It expands our responsibilities for interventions for students, how we're going to notify parents if a student has an unexcused absence. So we are required to notify a parent within 2 school days of their student's unexcused absence. So a lot of this is requirements on the district to try to really target students with attendance issues.
Is there a cap on the amount of excused absences that a student can have?
No.
Okay.
As long as they're excused.
Yes, and you'll notice that
Documentation.
the excused absence definition is quite long.
Okay.
And this is actually a definition right from the state, so they're very specific on having rodeo in there and a couple of those different things, so that's why those things are included in the excused absence.
And I think number 6 is one that the state proposed.
Yeah.
For which one, sorry?
Number 6, any reason a parent provides
Oh.
to justify a student's absence if the student maintains a cumulative grade point average of at least 2.0.
Thank you. Are we all still awake? Checking in.
It's the most policies ever in
I
a
know.
board meeting.
This is the least exciting board meeting there
Did
ever
some
was.
amazing work, board, to get this
Yeah, it's
to
just a
happen.
lot.
19, can't move.
Yeah.
Okay, this policy is for truancy. So once again, we've updated some terminology and definitions here. We're aligning with the legal statutes on what truancy is and also adding tiered interventions on there. What else? I tried to draw stuff down. It requires formal meetings between parents and school administrators. If they've had, I believe, 5. If they were truant at least 5 times during the school year, there's some requirements there under notice of truancy on what the notice we have to get and how the parent has to meet with us. And there's also due process appeals for a parent that would like to appeal.
Any comments or questions related to that? Safe schools.
Moving on, sorry.
And this one, similar, it relates to discipline and.
Yes, this is the Safe Schools Day, the day we did not finish all of our policies because there's a lot of work that went on these
Yeah.
policies. There was a lot of cleaning up to do. This one, we've put definitions in. We've also talked about physical restraints and guidelines for physical interventions, restricting restraints strictly to situations where physical safety is at risk. So the previous policy had if, I can't find it. That if property is being damaged so it only had to protect property from being damaged, but we added the wording when physical safety is at risk, so it can't just be a restraint for property. Those are the big changes there, and then just adding the district's responsibility to collect data and report.
Thank you. Okay.
520, so this policy is all the discipline now, so we've updated a lot of definitions. And the definitions are very legal because they're coming straight from statute. So I think the only definition we provided was the definition about the synthetic drug. So we worked on that definition internally, the synthetic drug, designer drugs, or the NPS, to try to capture all those other similar to technology and how we can't stay on top of all the new technology, this is doing the same for drugs. We can't stay on top of all the new language for drugs, so that's where that definition came from. We updated tobacco to include the electronic cigarettes and vaping. We updated our structured intervention tiers for the remedial actions.
Is this the one that you said you could, the wording is in it, that it could replace the previous one?
Yes, so this does have the
policy.
wording, if a
Okay.
student or
Yeah.
that we can, they can do work for us if the parents can't pay the
Okay.
the fees for the damage. We've also added the language for the serious sexual crimes and offenses, which includes a reintegration plan for those students. With the language that if the misconduct was directed at another student or a school employee, that the student may not return to the school where the victim attends school or works.
This is why we didn't get very far. Once we got through this policy, we were.
This one burned us out.
There was a lot.
Yes.
This is really the governing policy for our procedures for discipline. So
Yes.
it's quite extensive.
So, and it is extensive, and we did spend quite a bit of time on it, those of us that were involved in that,
And once
just
this-
to let the rest of you know.
And once this policy is approved, it will be sent. It is required to be sent to every family.
Okay. Okay, we're on 6540.
It's exciting, last policy. So this is a new policy. It's for students. If the district is notified that one of our students has been taken into custody or adjudicated for a serious offense, what our requirements are at the school, who we notify, developing reintegration plans for those students. So that's what this policy is overseeing.
And again, thank you for the work, those that were involved in making sure that the definitions were clear and not
Yes,
repetitive.
that's, thanks for bringing that up. We did write the definitions for this policy.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to make sure people understood what was in this policy, since while we did use a guiding document, this was really written by us. So who was going to be included in the multidisciplinary team, what restorative justice meant for this policy. And
Here. So just starting with the Monument Valley High split air handling units request for procurement here. So a few months back, we had to do an emergency RFP because of some HVAC failures that happened at Monument Valley High School. When that failure occurred, Steve Franklin let me know that there were some areas that were considered necessary to have HVAC working for the remainder of the school year. Particularly, the HVAC started failing around the time that it started getting cold. We have some code and health requirements that necessitated us moving forward with some of the work, but now we're at a period that we just need to finish the rest of the work on all the other areas so that we can have heating and cooling throughout the rest of the building here. And so that's what this RFP is for. So we sent that out. We only received one bid, and that bid is with Red Mechanical here locally, and you can see the bid information right there. So my recommendation will just be to move forward with Red Mechanical to do the HVAC split units at Monument Valley High School. Any questions on that one?
When will they do the work for it, before school starts? Or?
As soon as we start with this, they're going to start in some of the areas that are a little bit more low traffic, so that they're not disrupting too much. But there's probably going to be some that have to get done while school is in session, just because we want to get hopefully as much of this done before it starts to get really cold as possible. You know, we don't want to have to purchase separate heating units for those classrooms. And so I think that we really sped this one along. We had to do the required number of days to have this posted, and this one actually closed just on Friday with all the bidding, and so we wanted to get this one to the board as soon as we possibly could here today so that we could get started on the work and do as much of it before school starts, and then doing some of the areas that are going to be a little bit less traffic.
Okay.
So,
I know Steve isn't here, but just want to share some appreciation for him and being on top of these things. A comment I heard many times today as we toured the new elementary school was how grateful they are to have a working HVAC system. And so anything we can do to make our schools more comfortable is really helpful for learning. So.
it's one of those things you take for granted, but you really, really notice when it's gone. I'll have to talk to Steve, but I think that one will be completed by the time we start school. So, and once both of those projects are completed, I will upload pictures of the final product for the board, and as we do our capital follow-ups in future board meetings, I'll keep you updated on those. And now we can just do a brief update on the vestibule project, if you want to just look at the pictures that you have in there. So Monticello High School, both projects, Monticello and ARL, there's some demolition that's still ongoing. Speaking particular to MHS, one of the things that kind of slowed this down just a little bit is we had some asbestos abatement issues. It's one of those things that you never know for sure going into a project if you're going to have any. Unfortunately, in this one we did, and mainly in the office areas. And so when we get notification that there is asbestos, we kind of have to cease everything, cease the project until we can get that abated. And so at this point that has been abated and they're continuing. So some of the demolition is still going on there, and you can see some of the framework is already going up in some of those areas. The first several pictures are of the front of the building near that main entrance. And then moving on from those, you can see some of the pictures in the office and the admin areas. And then the very last pictures that you'll see are where the bathrooms are going to be across from the gym. So that's Monticello. Next, looking at ARL, again, there was some, we currently have an expected substantial completion date for this one of January 7th. One of the big things that is, a delay isn't the right word, but the big thing about this project is that we're doing it in 2 phases. The first part of this is completion of the classrooms before they.
Right. Not have a disruption of education, so. Or at least it is to me. I don't want to speak for everybody, but, yeah.
And remind me again when the completion date for ARL is?
January 7th is currently the scheduled substantial completion. And, that definitely can fluctuate.
Right.
More or less, but right now, from the latest progress reports that I've seen, that's the substantial completion date.
But no completion before school start?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
It looks like I'm the next item on the agenda, so if you would pull up the audit hotline training slides. We are required to have this training for utilizing the hotline. We're supposed to do that once a year, I think it says on here. And, yeah, governing boards have the responsibility to ensure that members and the administration are provided with this training, so we're going to do it right now. Yay. And I don't know, we'll just go through the slides. We're not going to read every single thing, but I do want you to look at them as we do that. Does that work for everybody? I'll go ahead and read. The role of the USBE, which is the Utah State Board of Education, is, quote, general control and supervision, quote, over public education in Utah in accordance with the Utah Constitution. And so they're supposed to enact rules to execute the state board's duties. They're also they're the enforcement authority, which includes requiring LEAs to complete correct action plans, to withhold state funds, and to require an LEA to pay a penalty. I hope we don't ever have penalties, but we're trying to do things the right way. So each LEA is governed by a local governing board, and that would be us. We're the board, and we're supposed to comply with laws that are applicable to Utah law. We're going to skip over the charter, which is the next page, because we are not charters. Other state and local agencies, again, we'll skip over that. Public education accountability, we're supposed to be responsible and accountable to the trust given to educate Utah's children. And because of this, the legislature has enacted a requirement that the USBE provide a process for an individual to report alleged violations of statute, board rule, or other concerns. Now, it's important to note, this is a way for people to report, but it's also important to note, as a board, and as a board leadership, and as administration, whether these are actual violations. Does that make sense? It should be related to statute, board rule, or other policies. So we need to try to be as aware as we can of what our policies are, and also who to contact for support in responding to these reports. Okay, any questions? I have questions. I have no idea what I'm doing. But we're going to try to figure it out. So there's provisions in the rule. The public education hotline is the state level hotline process. The local education hotline is an LEA level hotline process. Currently, our district has a link on our website, which is one of the things that's required, and we don't have our own local hotline, so we use the state's. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Anyone can report a concern. They can do it through email, they can do it through a survey form, they can do it through a phone call. And the internal audit categories for that, individuals can contact the hotline. People that can do that could be parents or guardians, students, public educators, when we don't know who we're responding to. Internal audit is required to perform a high-level screening, so this is the state, and they will, within 7 business days of receiving it, and then they will notify the entities who have the authority to investigate. And so they'll reach out to whoever in the LEA needs to. And referral, I'm just gonna, yeah. We'll just read that quietly. It gives you an idea of who it might go to, including the individual submitting the complaint and others that are. Christy, will you tell me a little bit what UPAC is?
Yeah, so it's the professional licensing. So if the complaint is against a licensed.
Have this on our website, so that's kind of what that talks about. Should be prominent notice. Again, we have that. It's right on the front page of our district website. Any questions about that? Okay. Required policy. So we must have a policy outlining how the LEA will respond and receive hotline complaints. And LEA personnel at all levels need to be aware of the policy and procedures and have access. And we do have that. We're supposed to provide training on the policy and ensure accountability for noncompliance. We're trying to do that right now. We're required to promptly contact the individual, submitting a concern if their contact information is available. Document the personnel that contacted the individual submitting the complaint, and document the type of contact made. And also document the date of contact and resolution or non-resolution action and steps to be taken. At a minimum, there must be at least 2 good faith attempts to contact the individual. and the LEA should investigate, consistent with due process, the LEA's process, and Utah law. Information related to a hotline complaint is only disclosed as necessary to investigate the complaint in accordance with the LEA's student and employee privacy policies. And then there is a response form that can be filled out, and it is on the USBE website. I have seen it. I have responded before. Laura Palmer has helped me respond before. As a board president, sometimes I feel overwhelmed by this because I'm like, we have specific roles. And it says a separate survey must be completed for each complaint. So again, thank you, Laura, for your role in helping with these things, because it's more than just one person to figure out these things. Maintaining the hotline is a requirement. We do have that in place. We utilize the USBA's, and it's readily accessible, and we must ensure that we're able to receive any type of concern. Policies and procedures to respond to and resolve received concerns are required. The internal audit will generally refer hotline complaints back to the LEAs, as well as to other appropriate parties for resolution. When a referral to an LEA occurs, a response must be provided to the USBE internal audit according to applicable timeframes and using the response form link provided. Generally, there is a 45-day response window, but there are circumstances when the response window is as short as 14 days. Okay, that was the training. There is also attached to this meeting just the general information, which is the same as what was in that slideshow. And then a link to the our policy related to the hotline. So if anybody wants to look at that, it is available on the board agenda. It's important, as board president, it's just important to me to note to the community that when we as board leadership receive complaints, we refer it as appropriate to the district staff. We don't generally do our own personal investigation. Sometimes, if necessary, we would utilize outside, what's the word? Investigators, our attorney, as appropriate. Sometimes we'll receive a complaint and it's already gone through an investigative process with the district. So we do what we can, but we try to stay within our role as individual board members and not administrators, because that's not what we are.
And also, it's not going to happen within the hour or the day of receiving the complaint. It's going to be a
Absolutely.
process as to how that's going to be handled. So
Yeah.
please be patient with us when we're doing our investigation and doing our follow-ups with what needs to be taken care of, as well as following our own policies and making sure that everybody's held accountable, or the transparency of all
Absolutely.
of us doing our work, our due diligence.
And again, it can be frustrating to reach out and say, I've seen, I want to report something. Ultimately, it has to actually be a violation. And sometimes they'll find out that nothing improper was done. But we still have to acknowledge that we heard them and, do what we can to determine whether or not there was a violation. So.
And to just build on, one of the big reasons why the board doesn't provide the initial investigation is because you're one of the levels of appeals.
Yes.
Just under our local policies, if someone wants to appeal the decision from someone at the district office. So.
Yeah, so I'll just add on to that. I think it's really important for the public to understand that this is not a way to get straight to the board. When these complaints come in, we follow policy 4250, or if it's sexual harassment or some other policy, but that really guides complaints and grievances. So what will happen is the board president will be part of that group, but then we'll go back to the policies already adopted by our entire school board to do the investigative process. And it may take it all the way back to a level 1 if it's never been reported previously. So I really think that's an important note to say, is you can't just skip the whole process of making complaints and grievances by calling the hotline. That's
Agreed.
not the purpose of the hotline.
Yeah, and it is important, you know, to let people know that they can be heard, but there's still a framework for how that all transpires, and we do want to be transparent, but there are limitations on how things must be done, so. And I hope I covered it, because sometimes I feel like I still don't quite know what we're doing, but we're trying. And it is an important part of board training, so.
Right. And I went straight to the school website or the district website, and it's right there under the Monument Valley High HVAC tile, and it says USBE Public Education Hotline. So,
Yes.
I mean, it was a pretty easy find when you go to the website as well.
Okay. We will need to go into closed session, but I think we're all a little spacey right now, so let's get some food. So if you're good to adjourn, we'll take a break and eat. And then we'll have
Come back clear-minded and ready to work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
That guy, I know.
Okay, welcome back. At this time, we would like to do our San Juan Sweet Job Award and recognize, we're going to recognize a student today, so that's exciting. So I'll turn it over to Christy.
This is Monticello student, so I don't know if you want to come up and, you don't have your flag on here yet, and then we'll get it for you. So Lyndon, come on up. We're super excited you're able to come here tonight. Yeah. Congratulations. Well, I'm going to read the nomination. So Lyndon English is from Monticello High School's 10th grader this year. And we're excited to honor one of our amazing students today with the San Juan Square Award. Our district sets an annual focus and chooses one of our amazing county scenic landmarks to represent it. This year we chose Listen to Learn, Listen to Lead, and we selected the awesome Bears Ears to represent the significance of listening. As we searched high and low to find an item that blended bears, learning, and school, we discovered we were searching for a unicorn. Eva had an idea and considered ordering a custom item, but none of the things we found were quite right. She remembered some 3D printing sales that Lyndon had done recently, so she sent the concept to Lyndon. He created a prototype, we edited it, he listened, and after a couple of edits, he returned with the final product. Since the Listen to Learn, Listen to Lead Bear has been created, he has printed many, many, many of them for our administrative teams and directors, and now the school board, and they can be found district-wide. Lyndon, we are so impressed by your workmanship and work ethic, and we are proud to display your talents throughout our entire district. You are being acknowledged today for exemplifying attributes of the San Juan Portrait of a Graduate, which you will be shortly in a couple of years, and being San Juan ready. So congratulations to you, and you're doing an amazing job. Get the camera, and I'll take a little, you have the picture. Okay.
I think you should hold the bear up again.
You hold the bear. Yes, absolutely. I'll hold on to which color do you have? I'll choose a different one.
All the colors, right? Perfect, thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, and I was supposed to say, you're nominated by Superintendent Fitzgerald.
Good work. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the creativity and the entrepreneurship, so that's awesome. And It's time for the public comment portion, and also, is this where we have the hearing?
We'll do the citizens' comments and the hearing starts at 6:15.
Okay, the hearing will be at 6:15. So, yeah, I was just gonna check with Eva and see if there is any public comment. Does anyone have public comment that we know of today? Do we have any comments, Eva?
I'm understanding you, and I'm just sending pictures to her, but I don't see anything in my email.
Okay, sorry. So do you want me to read that or not worry about it? Okay. So, thank you for coming.
Yes,
Thanks so
thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy the last of your summer.
Do we go over policy again? I'm kidding.
So I believe he has an online
Yes, he has a
store as
his own
well, so
business.
he sells what he makes with his 3D printing, so. If there's anyone out there who wants to order a bear, I bet you could get online. Get yourself a bear. I personally think the cinnamon one is my favorite, but.
There are a lot of administrators that want the whole collection.
I absolutely,
Yeah,
I
there
absolutely
you go.
do.
He's got a
Yeah.
whole market to work with there.
Anybody want to trade?
I'll just take yours.
I'll come look.
And so technically, we can't start the public hearing early. We can start it late, though. So if we wanted to do, if there's anything closed session related, we could do that first.
Okay,
We do consent.
We can.
Yeah.
We could do that too.
Yeah, we could even do the action items, except for the one related to the.
Right.
I think if you did consent information.
All right, yeah, let's go ahead and look at the consent agenda. Any comments related to the consent agenda?
I don't think I had any.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, Lucille seconded that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, information items.
So, our next board meeting will be September 8th here at the district office. And then on August 13th to 14th, our teachers are returning, well, many of them are, but the official teacher return date is August 13th and 14th for teacher preparation days. August 17th is our first day of school. And then September 7th is our Labor Day holiday. So just make note that we have Labor Day holiday the day before board meeting, so just so you're aware. And then I just wanted to make note of an update to the board meeting administrative meeting schedule. It's for principals meeting in January has been moved by a week, so it is, I have it in my notes somewhere, January 14th, I believe, yes. So principals meeting has been changed to January 14th, just so you're aware.
And I just wanted to make a note, thank you to everybody that participated in the ribbon cutting today. It's exciting. If you haven't had an opportunity to tour the new Blanding Elementary School, the community, parents and students, is it next Tuesday? Yeah, so there's a scavenger hunt. They're just trying to get the kids to learn the school a little, the students to learn the school a little bit, and also just get excited about learning. And it was really neat to be there with so many people that have been involved in the process, just from conception on, including the architects and former board members. And anyway, it's just exciting to see the progress that has been made by our district team to make that happen. Yeah. I think we can cover closed session fairly quickly. if we want to do that.
We won't make it by 6:15 though, would we? That's 4 minutes.
He said it could start a little late. It just can't
As long as we don't start early.
And you can
Mhm.
do action items, you just can't do your, I'd recommend not doing
Can
your
we,
policy.
on action items, do we have to do each policy separately, or could we say,
Combine.
I make a motion to approve?
You could combine.
You could,
What if you just said the number? And
that's what I was gonna suggest,
The
yeah.
number of the
Yeah.
agenda item?
To adopt policy number and then just list all the numbers.
All right, I'll go for it if we're gonna do action items.
Yes, just be
That's what
aware
we're-
that the
couldn't do the
policy for
Yeah, we
board
can't do the one.
compensation, and then there's one policy that is a retirement policy, so make sure you got that. That would be a separate motion, because
Because we're removing
it.
We're retiring that policy.
So we can probably do that one first to retire that policy.
Yeah, which one are we retiring?
It is policy 6550.
Yeah, 16.
Yeah, if you guys are good to move on to some of the action items before we do the, I will leave it open to motions.
I'll make a motion to retire San Juan School District Policy 6550, Student Conduct and Discipline Defacing or Injuring School Property Policy.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, other action items that aren't related to policy are also things that we could discuss.
I approve the 2025-2026 PBS substance use prevention reports for all schools except Navajo Mountain High School and Monument Valley High School, and 2026-2027 PBS plans for all schools.
So you move to approve.
Move to approve.
A second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the San Juan School District Policies 2240.
Not that one.
Oh, not that.
That's the one.
That's one we can't, sorry.
Yeah, nope, you're right.
Let me start over. I'm going to make a motion to approve policies, San Juan School District Policies 4128, 4134, 4162, 4330, 8125, 4311, 6560, 5210, 5240, 6568, 5340, 6130, 6140, 6160, 6510, 6520, and 6540 all be approved to go into policy.
I will second that.
All right, any discussion related to that?
That might be the biggest motion in the history of San Juan School.
We're setting all kinds of records today.
That's the only discussion item I have to say.
And my discussion related to that is just thank you for everybody that was involved in that work. We got July off, but we did still do some good work, and I'm glad that happened, so.
I would add to that is I have seen a lot of policy work from being in administration all the way through for many years. This is the best work I've seen in that. Not only was the work done, but committees were organized, multiple eyes were put on these policies. They were compared, they were looked at through the new state codes and state laws, eyes and lenses, and that's the best work I've seen. Great job, and I would also echo, President, your comments that tremendous quality teamwork job to everyone that was involved.
I agree. I concur with that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes.
I do have a question on one of those, since one of those is to retire a policy.
Yeah,
They
we
already
did.
retired it
That was
first.
So we
the
did,
first
okay,
thing
we did that
did.
first,
That
sorry.
was the first one we did.
Yeah, and he did not name that policy. He did a great job of
Hey,
skipping it.
you're
After I
two
got
steps
that
ahead of
first
me.
correction, I got it right.
Yeah.
You're 2 steps ahead, that's great.
So,
We haven't tackled the Monument Valley Fire Station first.
And we also haven't done,
HVAC,
HVAC,
RFP.
so.
And TSSA framework.
Yep.
I was just gonna make the motion for the
All right,
TSA.
you make a motion for.
I make a motion to approve the 2026-2027 San Juan School District TSSA framework.
Second.
Okay, so seconded that. Any discussion related to that?
I will second.
Oh, so then.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
It is time.
Do we want to do
Do we
the,
want
We
to do
do
the other
have
two?
two more things, so, yeah, let's just get on it.
Get
I
'em
will make a
clean.
motion to approve and move forward with the Monument Valley High Air Handling Split Units RFP as you proposed.
I will second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I know, we're still not quite sure on the first one, but
I'll make a motion, because if we make a motion, we can then have the discussion, right?
yes.
So I will make a motion that the San Juan School District will enter into a discussion, negotiation with the Navajo Nation to formally adopt a contract to assume that the Navajo Nation would assume responsibility of the fire station and responsibilities in Monument Valley. And when and if that is developed and agreed upon, then the county, the San Juan County at that point, contract which is in place would be absolved or terminated.
perfect.
Did you catch that? April? All right, any
Second.
second to that? Okay, Lucille seconded it, so let's talk about it.
I'd like follow-up on Navajo Nation side as well as the delegates too.
I think the way that you worded that makes it possible for us to move forward, but not be committed to the
Anything yet.
lease transfer yet.
The motion was just to enter into an agreement.
Yes.
Enter into a negotiation.
Negotiation, so I'm good with that. I appreciate you being thoughtful with your wording. I support that as well, just a way to get it moving forward, but not fully commit to.
You know,
Yeah,
and I hope I was clear on, my only concern at all, I mean, we have to have good services in the Monument Valley area that we know are reliable and going to be quality and efficient. That has to happen, but the only thing I think that is a little bit of concern is that we have this much land down there. When you look at it in terms of what we have, if you put it on a map, it's like this. And there's this much land down there. And so like when the county comes in, they don't have access to that much land. They don't have any land. We were deeded land years ago, which is what we have been able to negotiate and work with. And you've seen healthcare come in, you've seen the Utah Food Bank come in, and you've seen the San Juan County, which in all cases, we felt like either benefited us or benefited the community. But the one thing about the Navajo Nation that I've always kind of thought of was they do have access to this much land. As far as you can see, that is Navajo Nation land. So anyway, I don't know the answer, but there is a part of me that thinks at some point, like what they did with the visitor center, develop that, and now they're going to put a chapter house there. With time down the road, they might need other services, and it may make sense for them to develop a fire department and other services.
Expand.
I don't know, but anyway, I do know this, we have to ensure that we have good services as things go along, so.
And it could be a good stepping stone, and it does
Yeah.
sound like the county feels confident that services will still, otherwise they wouldn't have brought it to us. I know they have had a lot of discussions, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's good to be as informed as we can be, so that we're making sure our students are served.
Well, and I have to agree with that, with your comment on that too, because Montezuma's fire department's right up against the school, and they only have that little bit of area to work around as well. So, if we can.
And it's not on school district land, right?
I don't think so.
Nope.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I don't think so either.
No, it's on Navajo Nation land.
I've got the documents that show all of the property that San Juan School District owns though, and so we can
Discuss
take a look,
that,
but
Pretty sure
I
it's
don't think it
Navajo
is.
Nation land.
Yeah. I mean, so that, I mean, we know that that's available,
Yeah,
and that's
so-
how they have that to progress there too, so.
I mean, as we do enter into negotiation, we'll have to explore, and I'm assuming, Mr. Swanson, that that'll be you and the district that'll negotiate that. But I mean, they have to have the resources, even with human capital, they gotta have the right workforce and volunteer, or whatever it might be that, anyway, I'm sure they know all that. They know how to, they've been running this for a while, but those are the things that we'll have to be very much aware that they can assume those responsibilities and we won't miss a beat. We'll be protected in the event we need their services.
Sure.
All right, so if we want to vote on that,
I'll second that.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
Marcella already
Okay.
did.
Did she? Okay.
Does anybody need to hear the motion again, or are we good to?
Good luck on that one. We'll have to listen to the recorder on that one, huh?
It's okay. I think
think we
I
all-
think I've got a consensus that people are willing to move forward, so. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, it's public hearing time.
All right. And I can kind of lead the way here. I can't imagine that this one will be too lengthy here, especially since we already reviewed the policy here, but for the purposes of a public hearing, let's go back and just look at proposed policy 2240. And that's an action item, or not action, yeah, excuse me, number 5 up there, agenda item 5. So the big changes here, and this is for purposes of the public, so we negotiated this as administrative team and with President Barton and with Vice President Benally as well, that the first part of this, the first change that would be in the compensation package is that every month, the president and the vice president would receive additional compensation of $100 per month. In addition to this, just due to the large size of the district, the many relationships that we have, both with the state, with Navajo Nation, with Ute Nation, and just all of the many meetings that we're invited to go to, and especially you as the board are invited to go to, we just wanted to show our appreciation and show that, that those are actual services that you're giving to our community and to our school district. And so if you see on item number 4 there, board members would be eligible to receive up to an additional $1,200 per fiscal year for attending those meetings that align with discretionary budget travel category in the board handbook. And so again, this would be compensated at a rate of $100 per meeting, and it was brought up during the regular session of the agenda today. This does not mean 1 meeting per month. This can mean if you did 3 in a month, and that would be for up to 3 meetings. It just caps at 12. So after 12, if you want to go to 13, 14, 15, all the better. But the additional compensation would cap at 12 for that.
Would you like me to list those meetings out of the handbook?
That would be great, yes.
So those meetings would include USBA leadership, committee service and trainings, NAFIS, NISA, chapter meetings and other elective visits in the capacity of a school board member, others at the direction of the board member. The event must be mainly for board members in general, or the board member must be in the official capacity as a board member while attending the event.
And just to clarify as well, the meetings don't have to align with the board member-specific voting district. For instance, if board member Nelson wanted to attend the Mexican Hat or the Mexican Water chapter, I should say Mexican Water, is that correct? Yeah, the Mexican Water chapter meetings, that would also count towards his 12 meetings for the year. And then required documentation would be submitted and approved before the stipend is processed, and I believe that those do go to Superintendent Fitzgerald to review and to sign off on. And that's really the gist of it. Are there any questions from the board? If none, we can move to the public hearing portion of the section.
I just want to make sure, did we cover board leadership stipend as well?
Yes.
That was the first thing you said.
Yep.
So the list you read didn't have did it have board member regional meeting?
USBA meetings, so
So
that
that
would
was
be
what-
covered under that.
Would committee meetings?
Yes.
And that was
So
on there as well?
UHSAA would be one of
Even
those.
like if we did committee meetings during the summer, curriculum meeting, or things that we've even done this last summer, but I mean, where you came in and did curriculum work,
Yeah.
and
Is
is that part of that? I just want to be clear, if we're going to approve something, we know.
Sure, good
I
question.
don't think that
is currently in the board handbook.
Yes, but we could modify the board handbook too.
So that's, yeah, so if whoever makes the motion wants to be mindful of how they word that. Because if they go off of that list right there, exactly,
Well,
it would.
how the bullet is in the handbook is USBA leadership / committee service and training. So
Could be.
it's tied it to USBA versus a separate bullet of committee meetings. So when the board handbook, that's,
Okay.
And it would,
if anyone, it's on the district website if you want to look at the handbook on page 7.
and does the handbook itself also need to be brought before the board for any amendments to the
Anything
handbook?
that's changed in the handbook, the
Okay.
board vote.
So that wouldn't be something that we could change today, but if you did want to have something in there for like work meetings, or what are they called? The work sessions with the board.
committee meetings.
Yeah, committee work sessions, or, if you wanted to have those added to the handbook as things that are specifically eligible for this stipend. And the reason I guess that could get a little fuzzy is because in the handbook, we reference in the policy that it's specifically things that are travel reimbursement eligible, I believe is the language that we use in there. And so I don't know if that technically would fit that definition of something that's travel reimbursable or not, but
And they tend to be more public facing too.
Sure.
but-
And committees in the board handbook is covered under a separate section than that section. So, if you look at the flow of the handbook and how it's written and out, and the original intention when it was approved, those were if you're serving on a USBA committee or going to a USBA training, all of that was on the same line to cover it.
But that is something to be aware of, and possibly we could change in the future. I almost feel like we should try it as is now,
And then amend if we
and then
need to.
amend if we need to.
Yeah, I'm 100% okay with whichever way we go. I just think it's really
You want
important.
to
no,
be clear
that's
about
good
that.
clarification.
For sure.
Mhm.
Say, was that part of it? Was that not?
Yes,
Or
thank
you
you.
get someone requesting something and you have to tell
And
them.
I would say that the intent probably wasn't to include things like committee meetings and work sessions with the board. But again, that's certainly something that we could have a discussion about in the future, so.
Any other input, since we're the only ones offering? Public comment? You guys are welcome.
We support you.
And nothing from online or anything, okay.
Well, and I think a lot of questions, like you said, will come up, or a lot of things will come up as we progress with this too. I mean, this will be our first
And,
time.
and then do you suppose there might be other committees that might qualify in the future as well?
Yeah, possibly, and
No.
the committees are somewhat new. Like in past years, we didn't have as much involvement with the whole board on committees, so that is somewhat of a new thing.
Work sessions as well.
Yeah, and I think it is something to consider, but I do think you guys have been thoughtful in the way that you've approached it. I do think that it's good to see how board members are participating, and maybe at some point, committee meetings could be added to that. But I feel like we've got a good framework for now.
Sure. And I don't know if it's worth noting or not, but committees are, at least some of them are required by law for us to have. The first thing I thought of was audit committees.
But
There are certain committees that have to be established.
And some of that is board leadership that
Sure.
are already.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so.
Yes.
And so that's kind of one of the responsibilities that would be underlying of you as a representative of your voters, of your constituents. And so, whereas it's always a good thing to go to things like chapter meetings and things like that, but that's not necessarily something that is required of you as an elected official. And so these are things that are kind of in excess of what would be the bare minimum as an elected official.
Well, and I think with chapter meetings, and I don't know if Lissa or Dawn agrees with me, but I mean, that could be something that we do once a year or during the school year to do, when they ask us to do our
Sure.
reports, because we do have our administration and principals that do go and do those reports there at the chapter also. So it's broken up enough that we can list that. It's not always going to be listed underneath that too. So
Sure.
I guess it would just be up to us as individual board members, whether we go JLC or if we're on leadership or policy work session, or, depending on how each of us work within the board too. So
Sure.
we're not going to be limited to or have to be at these places specifically, so.
And I think, as we developed this compensation recommendation, we were looking at other school districts across the state of Utah and how is San Juan different, attending, a chapter meeting that's far away from where you live and the time that it takes to go to a planning meeting and then attend a chapter meeting is very different than other school districts. When we look at committee work, many school districts have committees. When we built our committees, that was a result of attending the mid-year conference, USBA conference, and seeing how other districts did it. And then we developed them here as well for the past 2 years. So I do think that, as you look at this as a board, part of that conversation we had in June was around that, is what does this look like with other school districts? So I think those, internal committee meetings that we have are very similar to other districts. I think when you're attending, a Navajo Utah Commission meeting or a chapter meeting or a UNTF meeting, like that's a whole nother thing that most boards are not doing throughout the state of Utah. So I think it looks a little different, as well as, attending a JLC. If you are the JLC member and you're attending that looks very different coming from San Juan County than when you are coming from Salt Lake City School Board or Ogden School Board, right? So I think as we looked at this compensation, there were very distinct reasons that we stated to the public of why we felt like this was necessary when not all school districts across the state do this. So just a thought for the public.
Yeah, in addition, Board Member Nielsen wanting to be on the UHSAA committee and being elected to do so, that's another thing that requires a significant amount of time, and it does kind of fall under the umbrella of being an elected official, but it's not something, again, that's required. It's something that he wanted to do, to advocate on behalf of, have a voice for San Juan School District in that committee, and so that's another one of those things that would fall under this umbrella for additional compensation, so.
That's under the USBA umbrella.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think Nan and I within leadership, one thing that we always hear at USBA or at leadership conference or wherever we happen to be is San Juan's very unique. And so for the public to say, or to come back and say, well, not other districts are doing this, it's, well, we're not, because we don't have the same, or they don't have the same thing as us. So hence, which is why we're bringing this up and, looking into something that would be more helpful and more beneficial to, our stakeholders. And so, and I think that also needs to be said, and just recognize that there's more work to what we do than what's seen as opposed to what's not seen.
Well, and I appreciate that I have a board right now that is willing to be boots on the ground and willing to go to these extra meetings. And that might not be true of a board in the future, which is why this type of compensation is appropriate, because we're making sure that we're being compensated for doing the work and not just being paid extra just for being a
Well, and it can be an incentive too for future
Absolutely.
board,
Yes.
for future board members too, so.
And the same with leadership,
Yeah.
It's another incentive to want to be active and participate in leadership positions, which do require extra and additional time, so.
Question. Now, would SCC fall under this too? Or is that?
School Community Council, I don't know if that was.
Let's look at the handbook.
Because I think, well, for me, I've attended most as a guest,
It is
not
part of
as
the
a
handbook,
reporting.
is something that we should be doing, but not really
And-
influencing.
Would it be helpful for Superintendent Fitzgerald to send out the language in the handbook to everybody? Just send that email to you?
It's available online.
Sure,
It's-
sure.
Because we have
it's
that
there,
land
but,
use trust fund, or the land use
Yeah.
trust thing that's in there.
Yeah, I'll just read it again for the purpose of the discussion. So each board member has a budget that can be used for travel at the board member's discretion. The only requirement is that the primary purpose of the travel is for board-related purposes. Examples of such travel include USBA leadership, committee service and trainings, NAFIS, NISA, chapter meetings, and other elective visits in the capacity of a school board member. Others at the discretion of the board member. The event must be mainly for board members in general, or the board member must be in the official capacity as a board member while attending the event.
that doesn't necessarily preclude.
So I guess the key distinction would be whether you're there invited as a board member to speak to the committee, or if you're attending without being on the agenda, yeah. And so I think that'd be the key distinction there.
And-
Whether you're acting in your capacity as a school board member, or whether you're going to go.
And Whitehorse is really good about that as distinguishing whether I'm there as
Sure.
a school board member and representing as such and doing a report, or as opposed to just being a guest and seeing how the meetings are conducted and being the support for parents
Sure.
and so on and so forth. So I guess, again, it'd be just at one of those of what you were, if you were invited or if you were inviting yourself.
And if at any time, you know, you're curious about, as the board, if you're curious about whether something would qualify, you can always feel free to reach out to myself or Superintendent Fitzgerald or even Laura Palmer. I bet would also be very willing to help you out. And
Well, and I think the other thing that needs to be highlighted, it's only 12. We're capped at 12. So it's up to you which 12 you want to be
Right.
compensated for too. So you get a choice and compensation of which of
For sure.
those, so.
And if there are requests that come to us with the district administration of the 3 that you just mentioned, you know, we'll bring that back to the board so we can get some clarity. I would assume that over time, we're going to need some more clarity.
For sure.
But I think where we're starting now is a good place, and then we can bring it back to the board very easily. and get that
Agreed.
on the agenda
I
to
agree.
adapt the handbook.
Did that answer your question?
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion related to that?
Someone, give us a hard one.
All right, I guess I think we only have one motion left besides closed session and adjournment. So, leave it open.
Did you type in?
I included language in there for 3 readings. I don't know if this one required 3 readings or not. So if it doesn't, I can just go and delete that.
It doesn't require extra?
It can be done just in a public hearing.
Okay,
Okay, that's updated.
all right.
So do we want a second reading or do we?
It's an option,
Okay.
but it doesn't have to be.
It was,
I just worry that if we don't give a second reading, maybe the public does have a comment on another
Sure.
one, or
Then you'd
how
have
would
to
that
do
work?
another public hearing.
Ah, gotcha.
So this is an actual public hearing.
Okay,
Did
and because
it-
we didn't get a comment, we can go ahead and it's be an action item today. Gotcha.
So I'll make a motion, if that's where we're at.
Sure.
I'd make a motion to approve San Juan School District Policy 2240, Board of Education Compensation and Expenses, as discussed.
second.
Okay, second by Lucille. We've had a lot of discussion, but I'm just leaving it open. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that ends the public hearing portion of the meeting. Thank you. At this time, we would like to go into closed session. I can't remember. Was it personnel or was
We
it
need to
something
go
else?
for personnel.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session for personnel.
Second.
Sorry, what?
Eva was just asking if we did action item number 4.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, that was,
that was
That's
just
this
what
last one.
yeah, that was part of the public hearing.
the
so-
one Ron.
So we're,
Wait, number 4 was the board reports proposal, and we did not do that.
No, on-
That
on-
doesn't have to have action.
Okay.
yeah, just under subsection
Okay.
L, number 4.
Okay.
Policy
They did that
2240.
as their action item.
That's right,
as
that
the
was just part of the
hearing.
hearing, just barely. Okay, so she made a motion to go into closed for personnel.
Lucille.
Lucille seconded it.
Ron Nielsen, yes.
Lucille Cody, yes.
Chloe Benelli, yes?
Nan Barton, yes?
Don Mose, yes.
Okay, we're going into closed.
Okay, and I think we need to shut off.